Yes, I agree with you.
So we're going live very soon, and when we do, you'll hear about the international multiple award-winning keynote speaker.
Yes, I agree with you.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is a very special day where we are sharing the beauty and the brilliance of Didi Wong. Didi Wong is actually a serial entrepreneur, and she's the mother of 4, which is in anybody's book and a very important woman to speak to, because she has really international multiple awards, and she is a keynote speaker, a business mentor. And what I love most about her, and would love to learn more, and maybe we will tonight, is her investing. She's an angel investor, a venture capitalist, and as I said, a serial entrepreneur. She's been in the field of interior design. She's a best-selling author. She's actually produced productions in Los Angeles, and she's been seen on Forbes, ABC, NBC, CBC, and Fox, and really has many more accolades that I would love to mention, but I think we should jump straight in and get to know the woman behind all these wonderful accomplishments, and also her wisdom for the Truth Marketing New Style Summit that we are presenting as Women of Truth. We really believe it's important to get yourself out there in the world when you have a real reason. To be famous for the right reason is something we say, but that requires us to be authentic, really genuine, and to know what our gifts are and to want to radiate them out into the world in truthful ways. So welcome, Didi Wong. Thank you so much for being with us, and we look so forward to this long-awaited keynote master.
Well, thank you so much, Heleniq. I am honored to be here. I love meeting women around the world. One of my favorite things is just to have friends from all over the different places. So you guys are my first friends in Cyprus. And I will say that, you know, I'm always honored, and it always feels a little bit odd when people read my bio or introduce me with all my accolades and my titles. But I want to start off this masterclass with the idea that it really is not about the titles. It's about your humanity before your titles come, right? So if I wasn't somebody who has great energy and knows how to do business and knows how to communicate and build relationships, that's not going to get me anywhere to get those titles, to get those awards, right? So I have worked very, very hard in my just three and a half years back out into the world from having 4 children to build my relationship capital. And what I mean by that is I took time to go out to network. I took time to go out and meet new people. And right now with this pandemic all over the world, I've been actually able to meet many, many, many more people because of our internet and our, everything is digital. And in a way, I always like to see the glass half full and turn lemonades and lemons into lemonades. And so, in the last 9 months, I have increased my relationship capital so much more than I would back before then. So I encourage you to think about when you come to the table, when you come to these group meetings and mastermind with Heleniq's group, for you to really think about increasing relationship capital. And and I have something else completely new, different planned, which was message to monetize. So I'm going to teach you really how to use your language and your articulation in order to make relationships happen, right? And it's not at all in the manipulative way. So you've got to come across as your authentic, real self, and people will feel it. I always say, because I am called the queen of pitching, when you go out and meet people, they're not going to remember really the words that you exchange, but they're going to remember the feeling that they got from meeting you. So that is number one takeaway from this masterclass. Just when you meet somebody, you come off as just being yourself. And how do you be yourself when sometimes you may be afraid or a little bit intimidated? Because I meet a ton of billionaires, people who are way better than me, who are way better, meaning that they are more successful financially than me, right? But they have also lived a longer business life than I have. So I want to go into the relationship learning from them. But who is it to say that they want to even give me their time, right? So it comes with my energy. And that is the one thing that I hear when I meet people. Didi, oh my God, you have such great energy. Oh, wow, you have such contagious energy. And if this is from anyone who I could turn into a client to anyone who is a billionaire. And it really runs the whole spectrum of people. And so what I will be touching on today to teach you is really how to articulate, how to come across, being real, being authentic, but also how do you not dilly-dally in your languaging, and how do you go straight to the point, but not so straight to the point that you're selling, but there's such a fine line in everything, right? So I'm going to be covering all of this so that hopefully you'll leave this masterclass with a lot to work with and practical tips to work with. So I'm going to share my screen. Heleniq, if you can allow me to share my screen, then I'm going to have my PowerPoint so you can see it. And while we're waiting for this to be enabled, I do want to quickly tell you a little bit about my background. So I was born in Hong Kong, and I was sent to England. So I was in the UK from 9 years old to 18 years old. I was learning English in England in a boarding school, all girls boarding school. And after that, I decided to come to America because I wanted to be on Broadway. I wanted to sing, dance, and act. And this has really been my biggest dream since my childhood. And it's also the biggest moment, one of the biggest moments of my life, because instead of going to Broadway thinking that I was going to dance, sing, and act, I ended up being invited. So I gave up my acting job to be a mother and to do business, right? And then last 2019, February was when I was invited to actually speak on Broadway. So instead of me imagining that I was going to go on Broadway to be acting and dancing and singing, I ended up realizing my dream by becoming a speaker. So that was a pretty cool. And I've done a lot of TV, as Heleniq said. I've done a lot of production mostly. I used to be in front of the cameras. Now I'm behind the cameras. I love to produce and create platforms for speakers, for business owners, especially women. I love the women empowerment, but I'm not a feminist. I always say I am a women empowerment girl, and I am Heleniq and I met at through the Women Economic Forum, and I'm the president of that in Los Angeles. So let me see if I can, yes, I can share now. So this is my PowerPoint for today. It's called Message to Monetize, which just means, I don't know much of your backgrounds, ladies, but Tanya, Heleniq did just say you are a business owner, a restaurateur. So, my idea is that everyone can be an expert in something. And you don't even have to call yourself the expert, but you are the expert, but you're going to be calling yourself the expert, okay? So my idea is that for me, I am an expert in being a mother because I have 4 children. I don't go out there to stand in front of the world to say I'm the expert, but you know that I am because I have 4 children. So whatever it is in your niche that you can be an expert in, and you can message to monetize. Your message is your expertise. And then I'm going to teach you how is it that you can monetize if that's what you want to do, right? How articulation matters. Okay, so let's keep going. This is my bio, and I'm happy to send this PowerPoint to you, all of you, so you can really read it and understand more, because today I'm just going to go through it quickly. So the definition of articulation is the act of expressing something in a coherent verbal form. It is defined as the act of speaking clearly. And really that is so important in business, in friendships, in relationships, in talking to anybody in your life. In fact, the most important is to talk to yourself that way, right? So that you know what you want, you know what your purpose is in life, so that you can go out and achieve your dreams. Articulation is important to be able to produce sounds, words, and sentences which are clear and can be easily understood and interpreted by others in order to be able to express basic needs and wants, right through to being able to engage in complex conversations. So there are 4 kinds of speakers that I say. Who out of the 3 of you are speakers? Are you all speakers? No? Okay, no. Oh, good. Okay, so none of you are speakers. Okay, well, what I mean by a speaker is not just speaker as a professional way, but you are actually speakers in an every single day way. So I want you to think that, focus on that. So us speakers actually get paid to speak, right? But there's speakers every day that I want to teach this to. So there's incoherent, there's the coherent, the comprehensible, and the articulate. Of course, I want all of you to land in the articulate, where you use your body language, you use your to win the hearts and minds of their listeners. So they say 93% is body language. And at the end of the day, when you leave me and maybe a few months down the line, you would say, oh, what did Didi talk about in her masterclass? You probably be like, oh, something about articulation, something about communication, but you remember that I really put my passion and feel into wanting to teach you this stuff. And that is what you want to do when you talk to somebody in class or in masterminds or in conversations. Articulate people sound smart regardless of how intelligent they are. The opposite is true as well. Smart people who are incoherent, like some engineers, architects, doctors, can come off as being limited intelligence. They actually can be so niche that they cannot get through to anybody else. Do you understand what I'm trying to say that? Yeah. So I want you guys to be generalized and know that you can tackle whoever you come in contact with in your own authentic way. Fortunately, articulation is a skill that can be taught, practiced, and mastered. This is why you're taking this mastermind. And hopefully at the end, you will kind of really get an idea of how to become that way. So there are 9 points I do want to talk about. Speaking with confidence and great energy and smile when appropriate. Number 2 is using the active listening skills. Number 3 is filler words. The ums, ahs, buts, and okays, and you knows, actually. You knows are the ones that I know I use a lot. Being aware of your speed, your volume, and your tonality and your pitch, right? Be present while you're speaking. How can you not, how can you train your brain not to be distracted when you're speaking? And avoid overly intellectual or fancy words, exaggeration words, and repeating words, body language and facial expressions, and then how do you actually monetize? So let's talk about speaking with confidence. Does anybody have any questions so far? Everything is pretty easy to understand. Okay, so I talk about confidence a lot. In fact, I would even stop my presentation just to get this point through, because everything starts with you. Everything starts with your heart, your connection with yourself, right? If I don't do my own confidence practice, I don't get to go out to show the world my most beautiful self. So I encourage you, when you're talking about confidence, when you are gaining confidence, how do you actually gain confidence, right? If you're going into a field where oh my God, I'm going to go into a field where I don't know anybody, I don't know this topic very well. How do you actually still be confident? You're confident in yourself as a student, right? I am always the student of the universe. So whenever I go to meet anybody, no matter if I see them as above me or below me, I always come into the conversation knowing that I can learn something from the other person, never giving any judgment, right? That is always a barrier for a lot of people. You judge people by what they wear, you judge people what earrings they have, what their hairstyle, what the makeup, whatever, how they speak, all of that. Yes, it's going to come into play, but if you are confident with yourself, you're going to shine wherever you go. And that is really my secret sauce of how I've become so successful and been able to, manifest all these things. I literally manifested last week. Just to share some brand new news to you that I'm so excited about, that my next speaking gig is at the Andrea Bocelli Foundation. And this is huge, huge. I was looking at the names, and it was like Angela Bassett, Giselle Bundchen, Cardi B, who is a rapper, and Naomi Campbell. I was reading Yves Saint Laurent, Oscar de la Renta. I was like, oh my gosh, wow, this is such a beautiful group. And then boom, Didi Wong was right there. And I was just like, what? You know, I didn't realize that they were sending me this email to put me in the category of all these people. Now, I really don't view myself as them, right? I mean, I have my own faults too, my own insecurities, I'm just a human. But I'm saying that when you are put in that place where you have the opportunity through Heleniq to meet somebody like me, I'm going to then help you get to that next level. You know, if you stay in touch with me, and if you want to really grow your network through someone who's done it, right? And I am that person who loves to pay it forward and help other people, connect other people. You know, I've already connected Heleniq with some new speakers. That's what I love to do. But it's up to you to be confident enough to say, you know what, even though you may think Didi is up here, which I'm not, you know, but compared to where you're at, you may think I'm up here. No, I want you to treat me just like a friend, like an equal, right? So that's how I do it. When I meet people who are up there, I treat them as an equal. I still write to them as if I am just like me. So that's how I've increased my relationship capital, because I don't judge people on how much they earn. I judge people on how much I like them as a human being first. So I hope you really get that. And what really shines through is your confidence. Now, I'm not talking about arrogance. There's a difference between arrogance and confidence, right? So I really want you to work on surrounding yourself with people like-minded. And I can feel you guys are very spiritual, like Heleniq said. And being heart-centered people is really good, because then you come to the relationship liking the person themselves first before you talk about sales, before you talk about money, before you talk about deals and stuff like that, right? And once you connect to them because of the same values, the same purposes you have, the same impact you want to make on the world, then other things can happen. So in my academy called the Yes Academy, I have 3 words. One is confidence, connections, and then cash flow. Okay, so I really want you to think about working on your confidence. Okay, and you guys can read all this when I send it to you. I don't want to go through word by word with everything, but surrounding yourself with only people who are going to lift you higher. That's what Oprah Winfrey says. That's probably what she practices every single day. So if you can find good people to be around you, you are already above most people. Sometimes you outgrow people, right? I'm going to spend a little bit more time on this, because don't be afraid to kick people out of your life. And I'm not saying kick them, obviously, like being mean, but I'm saying you can grow out away from the normal people that you surrounded. And if you don't change, you're always going to be in that same group, same vibe, and you want to become better. You want to learn from different people. So maybe join different groups to learn from many different people, right? And you'll then attract your vibe will attract your tribe. So your vibe will be attracting the right people who vibrate at the right frequency, and your same frequency with you. I don't know in Cyprus or in Europe. We in America talk a lot about vibes and frequency, and everyone vibrates at different levels, right? Because if you're spiritual, you probably understand this. Just like on a radio station, you kind of tune in to the right radio station. So when you meet people, they're going to tune in to see if you are on the same frequency as them. And if you are, then you're going to really get each other, and you can help each other grow by lifting each other up, right? And then here I have some homework that you can absolutely do that is fun. Write down a list of 10 to 20 people you can talk to or work with most, and then see which ones, who brings you down and who lifts you up, and who is actually challenge you to be a better person, and who, you've known them for so long and they've never changed. They've always been complaining about the same complaint, big negatives about the same things. It's been 20 years and you're still listening to that same problem, right? So really think about your life, and it is through planning in that sense to be able to lift yourself up and grow, right? Okay, so Let's move on to number 2, and you can read all about that, the confidence, later on. Active listening skills. Are you guys right now, the 4 of you, are you actually actively listening to me? That is really important. And that is to say, you can, I'm using this as an exercise and as an example for you to check in. Have you been thinking about your phone since I started talking? Have you been thinking about how you're judging me, how I'm talking, good or bad, right? You are going to be having those thoughts because you are normal human beings that have those thoughts. They say in the first 7 to 30 seconds, you will have formed a judgment on somebody already, right? And you form it by visually and by actively listening to them. Do you like what they're saying? Do you like how they are delivering their message? And that is going to flip back onto you when you do the presentation, when you come across in a conversation, how you are presenting yourself. So active listening skills are extremely important because you give the respect to the other person who's speaking by turning on the on button in your ears, right? Without distracting. Like I could really be distracted right now because I'm home alone with my 4 children. They're running up and down. I have my phone here, you know, which, you know, has those notifications. I could be distracted, but I haven't once thought anything but look into your faces since this has started. And this is how I've trained myself to be a presenter. When I have this chance, I take it and I am appreciative and grateful for it. So if you can think of every conversation that you have, no matter who it's with, that you are grateful to have that conversation, that you come to the conversation being able to give value, then you're going to turn on that active listening, and you're going to have really great exchange. When you have really great exchange, you're going to feel like that quality conversation served you in some way. It might have gotten to your soul and like, oh my God, I really love this girl. Or, oh my God, this person is so intelligent and so knowledgeable. I want to learn some more, right? So how do you actually turn on your active listening skills? You pay attention to the words and information, and you actually really look deeper into just the words. You actually look at their body language. You look at, you know, really listening to them coherently and really paying 100% attention. You're going to listen without judgment, which I talked about already. Number 3, you're going to clarify by repeating. Now, when you are in a normal conversation, clarifying is really good because it makes the other person realize that you're really listening to them. And so you're like, oh, so you mean da 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 da? Oh, so then you ask them a question. So it leads into asking questions to expand the conversation. And this is real networking skills, guys. Like this is advanced. So when you go out there and you meet people and you really want to increase your relationship capital, if you literally go down this and do all 7, you're going to really make a great connection with the other person. Because remember, my second word is connections. You have your confidence, you have your connection, and then the 3rd word is cash flow. It's just going to come. Things are going to happen. And that's what happened to Heleniq and I, right? Heleniq and I, she contacted me, we exchanged, I listened to her, she listened to me, and we knew what we were able to help each other, and the monies was exchanged very naturally without having to persuade, to sell, to do anything, right, like that. So really put these into practice, and you can see how your money flow will increase. Of course, the number 3 filler words is easy, you know, I just said, try not to use those as much. Now, in normal conversations, it's okay to use them. In fact, I would prefer you not to eliminate them if you are in just normal, everyday colloquialism, so that you don't come across as too perfect and too professional, right? But if you are presenting, then that's the time when you would try not to use all of these words. Yes, Tanya, did you have a question for me? No, okay. So this is something just needs to practice. If you actually record yourself talking or selfie videos, you can actually hear how many times you go, or yeah, or a lot of people use those words too much, and then it distracts them from the conversation. Number 4, be aware of your speed, volume, and tonality. I love talking about this point because I am a musical person. So just like in music, if you have the melody, it goes up and down and it's quiet and louder at different points. You know, your ears love that variety. You know, if it's monotone and I'm just going to teach you about be aware of your speed, volume, and tonality, then you are going to be really bored with me and I'm going to sound like a robot and I'm going to speak like this and I am just going to, and there's no ups and downs or pauses or anything like that. So you want to really come across speaking with flowers and blossom and like all sorts of different flavor, right? Colorful flavor. And it's fun to do that. There are times when I like to exaggerate and maybe speak much faster so you get to point and get to the next point. And there are times when I really slow down and make you think about my points. Now, what did I just teach you? I taught you about speed, volume, that's loud and soft, and tonality. Tonality is the pitch, right? How you come across when you speak with the higher pitches and the lower pitches. And that's all part of how you speak. So this is a fun exercise for you to do. Record yourself to speak for 1 minute. And then you'll know how you speak. Are you really boring? Or do you actually speak with a smile? Because when you speak with a smile, people tend to listen to you more. Even on the phone, people can sense that you are smiling when you're speaking on the phone or when you are not in a good mood, right? So, you know, a lot of these things are kind of body language, not specific about the words. It's about how do you feel, how do you intuitively sense the other person and where they at with their moods. Like, honestly, I came in this morning, again, talking to my bank, and I was not in a happy mood because I'm still dealing with what I'm dealing with, right? And I'm just like, oh my God, it's been 2 weeks. And it was a reminder because Heleniq was kind enough to let me have 2 weeks to deal with it. And I came back in today thinking, oh my God, my ordeal is still not resolved completely, right? But still, I come in and I switch myself back into my normal mode, and I give you my good energy. And that you can do that if you are able to train your emotions to not let it get in the way of things, right? So that is something for you to practice as well, training your emotions, being in control of when, you know, of course we should let ourselves feel and emote, but in a professional setting, you can put it aside and switch on for that reason. And thank you again for letting me do that, Heleniq. Okay, number 5, be present while you're speaking. Same thing as active listening. Whenever you are speaking, no matter where, turn off those distractions. Give the other person the respect that you won't be distracted with the phones. You know, really, it's like the worst thing. When I go out back in the day before the pandemic and have lunch with my girlfriends or even date nights with my husband, I really make it a point of not taking my phone out. Now, with my husband, I'll probably take it out because we know we have children at home and we need to be keeping an eye. But I am really good at like turning off those distractions when I need to. Like even with my children, I would not let my phone be in the way. Avoid the wandering mind. How many times do you think you have wandered off since this beginning of this mastermind? You may have wandered off thinking, oh, what should I eat? Well, actually, you guys are at dinner time. Oh, I feel like going to sleep. Or, oh, I didn't brush my teeth yet. Or, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I waited 2 weeks to listen to Didi. I don't know what you're thinking, but you know what I mean? Like all these things that we be wondering, but if you can actually go close that off and come right back to the conversation. And this is what I do when I practice yoga, right? Yoga has helped me so much in terms of knowing how to be present. Because when you are on your mat, you don't think about anything but your poses, but how you actually bend your knee. Is your knee further forward than your toes? All of those things that you're so present to, you're thinking about the muscles that you're using. It's the same thing as when you're listening to someone or when you're in a conversation with someone. If you can be as focused as that and as present as that, 100% looking in people's eyes, eye contact, dropping those judgments, or at least knowing that you've made that judgment and say, nope, back to the conversation. Nope, because our minds will wander. Keeping conversations short. Now, this is the part that takes a little skills. A lot of people go on and on and on and on and on. And, when you're in a networking setting, some people feel like, oh my God, I just don't want to be listening to this person. How do I get away from it, right? And what do I say? I don't want to be rude, but I also don't want to waste my time because I'm here to network, right? So I will always say to people who are very polite, just say, thank you. I'm so sorry to cut you off, but thank you so much for the time that we've shared. I know a little bit about what you do now, but I would really love to go and mingle with other people. Now, if you can't bring yourself to say that because you think that that's rude, then you can always say, I'm so sorry, I need to run to the bathroom, and then, go there. But I would really suggest that you practice learning how to cut conversations short if they are not serving your purpose, because our time is precious. And yes, sorry, I have children there. She's knocking on the door. So, be present, be able to know when the conversation is just really no longer serving you and it's wasting your time. Because when you are in a networking setting, you don't have to be nice. You're not trying to be there to be best friends with everybody, right? You're there to make relationships happen, right? And now this is specifically in a network setting. Of course, in party setting or in a gathering setting is a different story, right? So you need to know when to engage that conversation, when you need to leave, and when you engage into it. You know what? It's fine. I'm in a party. I can learn to listen to this person and know this person more. But I'm specifically talking about networking here. Of course, use social awareness. When you know where you're at, and when you are in a place where, I'm sorry, my baby's still. Yes, baby, yes. Then your social awareness is like, who is around you, what is going on, but not distracted. But it's almost like a subconscious thing that happens. You are in a room, you're focused on this person, but you're also quite socially aware. If somebody's stepping into the conversation, did someone add in? Do you want to include them? Or you were in a conversation, do you want to pivot? That you need to be socially aware and of your surroundings. And if this is a right ambiance for you to have a conversation, like, when you should be selling, you shouldn't be selling, right? When you don't bring up, oh, by the way, I am an award-winning international speaker, and I have been in Oprah, and I've done this and I've done that. No, I don't do that. I know my surroundings to know when that comes up, when I should just be quiet and listen and learn, right? So that's what I mean by being socially aware. Avoid overly intellectual fancy words. That is something a lot of doctors do, of course. A lot of people who are in a niche expertise do. And sometimes when you use a lot of intellectual words, it actually turns people off, and that they think that you are above them. So just be colloquial, just be real, just use normal words that people understand you. A lot of people have said to me in the past, Didi, you just make such complicated matters so simple, because I don't use intellectual words. I don't use fancy words that will put you off and think that I'm better than you. And that's very important for you to take on as well when you have a conversation. And in America, more than anywhere else, we use a lot of exaggeration words. So we use awesome and amazing all the time, even when things are not amazing and not, so I encourage you, probably not as much in Europe, honestly, because I've lived in Europe and people are more kind of like real. But in America, everything is bigger and everything is larger than life and everything is much better. And it's not, and it's such a front, surface thing that I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're saying it's awesome, but it's really not. But it's marketing, right? I guess it's marketing. But still, if you can come across as real, and still, when I say something that's really extraordinarily wonderful and amazing, when I actually use that word, I actually mean it. But when I think something is good, that is good. It's not amazing, right? So don't use those words when it's not called for. Then people will believe you and trust you more, especially if you are a professional in something. Okay. Oh, I want to read this paragraph to you. Apart from exaggeration words, this talks about repeating words as well. So I'm going to read this out loud. Exaggeration is a true problem in the world of sales. If you want to be taken seriously, have integrity, and be true to your product or services, choose words that are true to what is real. If you truly feel something or someone is incredible, then by all means use that word. But if you are talking to an audience who knows you and have heard you speak, and you use this word so often, it can diminish the true meaning of the word. So when you actually use it for real, it doesn't ring as poignant. Now, I wanted to read that paragraph because in that paragraph, I have used the word true so many times. You may not even have noticed that because I delivered it well, but if I will say, because I'm so about words, right? That, hey, you said true here, I've said true here, I've said true here, I've said if you truly hear, and by all means, you have another diminish the true meaning of the word. So obviously I can use another word other than true, right? So just be mindful. This is just an example of what I mean by repeating words. And I do love the word true. It is something that I use. And so I'm telling you my flaws right now. Okay, so let's move on. I can easily change it up so I can use a yeah, but. And the bottom line is be more accurate with your expressions and your meaning. Exaggerate only for dramatic effect and if you really mean it. Okay. Any questions up until here? No, good. Okay, so body language and facial expressions are my favorite things to talk about. I kind of touched on it earlier, and it is the 93% and 7% rule. 93% of my words you will not remember at the end of this session, right? Only 7% will be retained by you. And in fact, to kind of dumb it down even more, it's actually 7% spoken words you will remember. 38% is in my voice and in my tone that you will remember. And 55% is actually my body language. Now, because I'm sitting here, you don't see my hands as much, you don't see my body as much, but you see my facial expressions. And you see that when I'm excited, which I've been excited throughout this whole thing, I'm smiling, you can feel it, right? You can feel that I'm excited about what I'm talking about. You can see it in my eyes opening up and how I lean forward and I'm using my hand gestures around my face, right? All of this comes into play as I'm teaching you this material that makes you actually get more from me and want to listen more from me. So really think about how you come across with your body language, with your facial expressions. Are you smiling? If you're teaching, then why aren't you smiling? Smile, right? Smiling is the quickest icebreaker that you can have with other people. And they will, right away, just like you more. It's a very common statistic that shows that. And here are a few simple tips to have better non-communication skills. Watch your posture. So if you do tend to slouch, especially if you're giving a presentation standing up, and if you tend to slouch and you're kind of more like that, people will not respect you as much. It's just normal. If you stand up tall, it means you're confident. It just is that simple. So if you stand up tall, shoulders back, stand tall, chest up, right? This is how we learned in ballet class, when we were growing up, any dance class you may have, it's like, look up, right? Look up so that you can show people you're confident. It's in the body language that people will understand you. And I like to bend my knees. As you can tell, I'm bending my knees when I speak. I definitely like to I don't like to walk around the stage too much. I do like to stand in kind of the center of the stage, and I might pivot my body to talk to people on my right? And I might pivot my body to talk to people on my left. And I will use my hand gestures. Now, when you're looking at yourself speaking or talking to people, even in general one-on-one conversations, if you keep doing this every single time you speak, then it will distract the other person. So be aware of how your body language is. Do you use the same gestures all the time? And if you do, then don't. Right? We want to practice using different gestures, but also be real about it. Okay, use your arms to explain, not like T-Rex arms. Oh, okay, so this T-Rex arms is basically, don't put your arms right by your side and just use, you see how my body, I'm just using my arms like a T-Rex. Right? If you use your whole elbows, and this is, again, not just for professional speaking, it's for when you're speaking to your other friends as well, or even in a small group setting. You want to smile, eye contact with the listener. Of course, I said that, shoulders back, talked about that. Don't get distracted of who is walking by. Speaking to a group, look into the audience, not down. And look, and if you're now, actually, I should add this, because nowadays we are always on virtual, right? All of you are on your rectangle squares or rectangle shaped Zoom call. So I want you to really think about looking into people's faces. So glancing in all the different boxes, who is here, who is paying attention, who is falling asleep, and I'm looking at the camera. I'm really talking to you guys, right? So it's good to be aware of all of that. And last but not least is the monetizing. Who are you? What do you have as your expertise? How do you actually monetize? Of course, the first thing I would say you want to monetize is think about becoming a speaker, because I really think that once you put yourself on the stage, people see you differently. That's just how it is, right? So if you do have an expertise in something, don't be afraid to go out to speak to groups. That's becoming a speaker. And then you can create, right now the trend is to create online courses, right? To teach your expertise. And this is what I do. I actually help my clients actually create courses. I hold their hands. We do an 8-week course, and I actually one-on-one literally go guide them through module 1, module 2. What should we call your course? How long should it be? And how do you actually write verbatim what you're going to say on camera? Then we're actually go forward to record the course, so you actually have a deliverable to start making passive income. And then your expertise structure into categories. So you can use your expertise and just record CDs if you don't like to be on camera. I have many clients who like still to record. So nowadays, not so much CDs, but back in the days, people still use CDs. You can record into audio MP3s for people to learn, right? You can write a book, of course, and record it so that people can listen to it, right? You can create a workbook for people alongside the online course, and that would be a little bit more expensive because you're giving them the workbook. You can train your audience in a workshop style, which is almost like what we're doing right now. You can use your expertise to land speaking gigs and organize your own events. These are really, the last two are the big ones that you want to strive to go to. But there really are so many ways that you can put your expertise out and make money off of it. And it starts by doing a group coaching. Like what I say to that you don't even need to have any materials all preset. You don't even need to know how to do a PowerPoint. You can just go out there and tell everybody, hey, let's just say I'm an energy healer, right? I do Reiki. I'm just giving you an example. Let's say I know so much about the chakras, and I'm going to give a workshop, a 4-week workshop, 1 hour a week, to talk about your chakras, your crown chakras, all the way down to your root chakras. And people are going to be like, oh my God, I want to learn about that because I want to know which ones need to work and stuff. Then you start off with the group coaching, and then you can start charging money to do that. So I'm happy to go into how do you make more money if that is what you want. And I know, Heleniq, you kind of wanted me to touch on investing, but I'm not sure. Let's ask the audience, what kind of questions you guys want to ask me, and I'm happy to answer for you. But in terms of my presentation, that's the end of that, yeah, which I will send to you.
Well, thank you so much, Didi.
You're welcome.
I love this very, very powerful presence that you have. I feel like you take care of everybody so much when you're communicating and when you're investing your energy like this. And I met you in passing, and then had all these great interactions with you online, which just always felt really very generous and very relaxed, and were actually one of the most serious conversations I've had with people as well. So I just want to be a testimony to that, because I wrote on the box while you're presenting that you are so precious, and I really do think you are.
Oh, thank you.
I want to also just touch on the fact that the way you teach is very powerful, very enigmatic, and very great example for the woman listening, because you can see that there are many different styles of teaching. And Didi just has a very dynamic, very convincing, very simple delivery, but very deep intensity in what she's actually putting out. And you spoke a lot about truth and being real, and I really get that. So it's a very good example of how aligned someone is. You know what you're thinking, you're feeling, you're doing, and you're actually teaching it. So just, kudos to you. Celebrate that.
Thank you.
And I chuckled a bit when you said about these people that have these long conversations, because I think it's one of the worst things when people are not sensing the social dynamic, and a lot of people don't, but also, especially in networking, it's one of the quickest turnoffs is to make the conversation more about you than it is about the other person. I tend to do the other problem, where I end up opening up the conversation too much with the other person, and then it all becomes about them sharing more and more about them. So I think there's a good tip there for a lot of us more empathic types, where we might like not want to share about ourselves, so we don't look like we bragging or saying too much, or being inappropriate somehow socially, and give the other person space, and then actually give them way too much space. And then I've had to learn how to actually cut that off. So I liked very much that you touched on that. Let's open it up to the group. Just want to make sure, everybody, that we're streaming. So if you prefer, we can actually clip it off here, or would you like to open up your questions to a general audience that can learn from you and your question? Just let me know in the chat box. And while you're doing that, I want to also just say that Didi has many more very specific ways that she's been in business. So she's run like yoga clothing companies. She's done interior design, and then she's been in the buying of property industry, and then she's actually funded and supported businesses to get started. She's, put her expertise into practice in many ways. So you can actually ask a question on pretty much anything, business and monetizing. And now she's just presented on public speaking and networking, and really just charisma and being able to magnetize people to you, and accuracy of delivery. So if you're comfortable to ask your question, go ahead. I think what I am going to do is also say goodnight to everybody that's on the live stream, and let you know that we're doing these Monday nights, which will be streamed onto YouTube as part of our conferencing, our hybrid models as Women of Truth. And we have the opportunity then to listen to some great thought leaders. We had Didi Wong as our keynote on truth marketing, which you can see is a very, very clear and simple message, that there's ways to do this, presenting and resonating out who you really are out into the world, and to attract people to you for the right reason. And you do it by presenting your truth to them. And this is a very great example of how you can do that. So I hope you learned a lot, and I hope you're really grateful, because you've got a whole presentation by Didi Wong here. And then you can also catch us on the Women of Truth, Revolutionizing Women's Health. And I look forward to sharing some of those masterclasses with you as well. Thank you so much for watching, and good